Hello Esgen, my name is RemovableSanity, and today I'm reviewing Romancing SaGa 2 Revenge of the Seven on the Series X, developed and published by Square Enix. So what is Romancing SaGa 2 Revenge of the Seven? Romancing SaGa 2 is a non-linear JRPG which sees you rule and expand the Empire of Varennes across multiple generations. The premise is, over the course of centuries, your protagonists will discover a vast array of story experiences as you fight the seven heroes in this epic battle that plays out over thousands of years. The game boasts character and imperial succession, free-form scenarios, strategic turn-based battle system, reimagining of the original game's 2D pixel sprites, difficulty settings, and the ability to enjoy the remastered music or the original score at any time. First up is accessibility. With regards to accessibility, there are a number of options available. These range from control mapping, subtitles, mini-map settings, and a large number of combat display options. Audio options, however, are limited, so those with auditory issues may struggle with the game. Next up is gameplay. Remakes are becoming more and more common, allowing newer players to engage with old franchises. And it's not hard to see why, with the likes of Final Fantasy doing the numbers with their games being remade for the newer audiences. A good remake rebuilds the game from scratch with new assets, a different engine, and potentially new gameplay mechanics or story changes. However, the best remakes do all of this whilst keeping the ethos of the game's original intent. With a lot of franchises often changing original intents to suit the sensibilities of said modern audiences, the game's community at large often panics when their favourite franchise is being remade. I can thankfully dispel that fear from Romancing SaGa 2, as from what I can tell, the developers have stayed true to the ethos while ensuring quality of life revisions only complement the game. At its core, this game is about one thing. It's about the journey, not the protagonists. Now this is very different from most RPGs, with them being the opposite. The main game system is based around a lineage system, with its story being told over centuries that cleverly interweaves progression and world building through each succession. You begin as a son of a king, the Empire of Varennes. During this game's tutorial phase, an event happens where your family, including the king, are killed, and 7 previous heroes turned villains have arrived. As the successor, you discover you can now inherit all of the knowledge of the previous emperors, allowing you to build up each new successor with existing skills, abilities and tactics from the previous ones. This spans across generations, which means that should the current emperor fall in battle, or perhaps you accomplish a major victory against one of the 7 bosses, it triggers a time skip anywhere from 50 or to maybe 120 years where a new successor will need to be appointed. The successor will be from a choice of complete strangers, not heirs, which means you can choose from a range of characters, each with their own class and special tactics. As time progresses, you will gain access to more classes from your retinue, which in turn means more class choices for being emperor. Each character has a life point stat that, once reduced to 0 in combat, results in a permanent loss for that specific individual, which then a new character will become available to fill the slot. The inheritance mechanic doesn't just restrict itself to the emperor, it also works for all those in your retinue. Should any fall, they also can be replaced, but with a new character with the same class. This may sound as death is now meaningless and any experience gained always kept. This isn't strictly true, as the consequence of death from anyone is the potential loss of unmastered sparked techs and the need to then rebuild your party and team formations from scratch again. Speaking of tech, the game's characters doesn't level up in the usual way, with it deciding to go more a Final Fantasy II way of doing things. Combat is turn-based, and at the end of your fight, you level up your health, weapon or spell types that you have used in combat rather than the character's basic level. New spells and weapon attacks, called techs, rely on a light bulb indicator appearing during battles, which, if used, provides a chance to unlock a new powerful variation of those skills. Raising the proficiency of the weapons with all classes means that future generations of those classes will benefit from them, which is critical for later battles. Alongside these techs and spells, you will soon unlock United Attacks, which allows the retinue to execute a powerful combined attacks. As you progress, more of the retinue is added to this attack, creating some really long and devastating attack chains as one super attack. This isn't available from the beginning, but requires the party to land an attack on the enemy, in which doing so builds up an energy bar. As mentioned earlier, combat is turn-based, with an indicator showing which character's turn is next in the top left-hand corner. The strategy of the battle comes in 3 parts. First is making sure you find and hit the enemy's weaknesses for extra damage. To do so, you need to use attacks using a variety of weapon-stroke spells, which in turn will allow you to work out what their weaknesses is. Second is using crowd control attacks via status effects, or killing enemies before they get a chance to act. And finally, make sure you have enough bombs, health kits before entering any battle. 1 or 2 attacks in this game will be enough to take out one of your characters, and in doing so, this will stop the whole team's buff which they receive due to their formation. Speaking of formation, this is another mechanic of the game that provides you with buffs, but also lets you understand positioning of your retinue is also important in battles. Formations give the team certain buffs, be it to hit harder, better range attacks, or protection from incoming attacks. Positioning your team is important, as AoE attacks can do some serious damage if a wrong formation is used. New classes have new battle formations, granting bonuses for position. The Iron Cross formation, for example, lets you place a lead character who will take most attacks, but with a higher defense, whilst the Tail character will have a lower target chance, but lower speed. As you progress in the game, more become available to you. And that's not all. Because this game is told over centuries, there is a number of mechanics attuned directly to it. For example, improving the kingdom. The huge number of years allows you to construct buildings that will modify your kingdom and generate income, providing new opportunities such as more classes to play with. Early on, the blacksmith is the only available to create, but as you progress, gardens, university and a magic school all pop up. Now, I'm only lightly touching on the integrated mechanics of this game, with so much still not mentioned that only help to promote the game's enjoyment further. Things like special abilities, forging and reforging weapon and armour, combining spells, all this makes the game's core gameplay even better. Next is graphics. When it comes to the style of gameplay, you really couldn't get a bigger shift if you tried. From 2D colourful sprites from the original to fully fleshed out 3D assets for the remake. It's clear that the developers went beyond the norm to ensure the style and visuals from the originals were not lost in any way with this remake. From the landscapes to the enemy types to the overall UI, things have been enhanced to ensure a new audience gets the fullest from this game. However, with a nod to the original game, the character sprites do appear in the loading screens, which is a lovely touch. Speaking of enemies, like the original, they are visible on the overworld, wandering around these arenas ready to attack, but at the same time it can be avoided. It even allows a preemptive attack from behind for extra damage if you can do it without them seeing. However, if they attacked you first, your formation is broken and all characters are open to attack. So be careful. Battles themselves take place in a number of stunning zones based on the original game that are varied and expansive, with regions from seasides, Saharas, forests and lava-based mountains. Careful exploration of these amazing vistas is also recommended due to being able to pick up crafting materials hidden around them, alongside secret statues that also provide you with visions that allow you to uncover the lore about the 7 heroes, including their origins and their eventual fall into being evil. Now, whilst exploring the game's vast world, some sea routes or field locations may be blocked off, but most regions are open for you to discover in any order. This ensures that each player has their own unique path throughout the game, outside of the tutorial boss, that allows you to fight the 7 heroes in any order you choose. The downside to this is that due to the non-linear structure of the game, some events or characters are missable, and that's because most of the story is generated by your decisions during the game. Unlike some, choices actually matter here, with decisions through dialogue or gameplay having a clear impact. For example, one mission pushed me to attack a castle, but before moving on to that, I randomly decided to do a side quest elsewhere, which led me to interact with a thief. Depending on my choice with them, I was then given a shortcut to the boss in said castle. This can be a double-edged sword though, as one quest could only be completed if I had a male emperor, which I only realised by chance when my current female protagonist had died, and I wandered back into the mission's location. The plethora of enemies and their varied attacks is superb, with each new region providing interesting and engaging enemies to challenge you. And thankfully, to accompany them is the game's compendium, which details all enemies and their weaknesses uncovered in full 3D glory. Speaking of weaknesses, the game has even included a quality of life feature that shows a weakness stat bar under each enemy that gradually fills up when uncovered with the correct attack. One element I did find though was heavy popping in the more open areas, with distant enemies popping up randomly or even being visual but not moving until you get closer. Does this actually detract from the amazing gameplay? Not really, and it can always be patched. Next is sound. Just like the visual style, the music has also been given a full revamp, with a whole new set of scores based on the originals. And who better than one of the original composers, Kenji Ito, to provide the newly arranged tracks. These collections of scores ooze oomph and depth that really sells battles, storytelling, or just exploration regardless of the player's location. But that's not all. The developers have also included all the original scores for free, which you can switch to at any point in the game. Battle and weaponry sounds are superb, with the impact from them feeling meaningful and deep, whilst providing that otherworldly feel. Combine this with remastered or even original scores, and you will be smiling ear to ear as your retinue carve their way through the enemies at hand.
Okay.
Voice work is here for all story and side mission cutscenes, with in-game chat being conveyed by text. The voice work here is great, but for me it doesn't hit as anywhere near as deep as the original Japanese actors' work.
Your death. Be sure to give my regards to your son!
My recommendation here would be a good quality soundbar to really enjoy the musical scores as you make your way through this epic adventure. And this leads me on to the rating of the game. Now I rate games in order of avoid, on sale, great purchase, and must own. My rating for Romancing SaGa 2, Revenge of the Seven is a must own. Night Dive are often touted as the king of remasters, with their eye for detail, strict code to keep the original game's ethos, with added extras like missing content added in. However, it's clear that this game's developers have taken that code as well and are pushing to become the kings of remakes. The game is currently priced on Xbox at £49.99 or approximately $50, and depending on your skill and patience would give you about 60 plus hours to complete the story. However, you can easily double that with a second playthrough with New Game Plus that provides new enemies, classes and even powerful weapons, all whilst doing different story paths. This to me is the best way to update and refresh old franchises for new audiences. As someone who's never heard about Romancing SaGa franchise, I am now a full convert due to this game, and that should speak volumes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I do hope you like this review, and if you do, please like, share and subscribe if you so wish. And if you would like to put some notes or even just a comment in the comment section, I do like reading them. Anyway, have a great time gaming, and I'll see you all again soon.